All right, looks like we are live. What is going on, everyone? And welcome to the Xbox Roundtable Podcast. This is episode number 175. I'm your host, Invader, and admittedly, we've got a heck of a lot to talk about tonight. We've got a bit of catching up to do, news-wise, from the last 2 weeks. Bethesda was officially welcomed to the Xbox family, and it looks like we've got confirmation on how the whole exclusivity thing will work. Also, Xbox Game Pass adding a big AAA game day one, and a new Xbox event to look forward to at the end of March. Wow, we really got quite a few things here to cover. However, before we dive into all that, let me introduce tonight's panel. And admittedly, we're a little short-staffed tonight, but you know what? We got a couple of really great guys here, along with a fantastic guest. And joining us is his first time on the show, somebody who you've probably seen around a few podcasts already. Please welcome with us tonight a really great guy, Pong Soul. How are you doing, bud?
Invader, thank you so much for having me. Last minute, but you know what? I'm glad I could hop in here, and I'm glad we could get the tech stuff figured out there. But no, it's great to be here. Big week of news, and I always love talking about it. So I'm happy to be here, man. Chat's looking good, panel's looking good. So let's do this.
Yeah, no, totally, Pong. And yeah, thanks for coming on by, bud. It's great to have you here with us, like I said. Now on to the TXR regulars, and I'll start off with Centurion. Buddy, how you doing this weekend?
Oh my God, I am doing good. I'm excited to be here. I got my brother Pong on the other side of the table. Oh my God, extremely short notice. He is going in for that clutch for that superhero cape against Mr. Dreadpool. I'm telling you what, it was coming in, saving the day. Man, you are everywhere on almost every podcast imaginable now. I cannot think of one show that Pong Soul has not been on, either in chat or on the actual cast itself. But other than that, man, I have been kind of dabbling back into the Outer Worlds. I bought it. I wanted to play the DLC. There was an issue with syncing my game. Rather than totally getting freaked out, I deleted everything, cloud saves everything, and I've had to start over from scratch. And I've actually been enjoying starting over playing the Outer Worlds. And one thing that it kind of dawned on me is, even though it's a game that I have technically played once and beat, I feel like I'm playing technically an all new game because it's on the Series X. Those god awful load screens from playing it on the Xbox One X are extremely completely different. I feel like the game looks even more beautiful just because it's a Series X. The game's obviously more stable. And then it's an RPG. You could technically play the game completely different. And so I'm having a blast kind of re-exploring a game that I technically have already played.
I'm upset I didn't start it on Xbox now because I can't get a 3080 to save my life. And so it's not like I'm going to upgrade my PC right at this moment. And I'm stuck on a mechanical hard drive on the PC. So I'm like, shit, I wish I started on the X. Now it has all the features.
I could kind of see that because the funny part is I was playing it today and my wife walked by and I'm on the first planet where you got to go find like the settlers that went and made a botanical garden. So they have like all the trees and everything. And you're watching just the wind blow in the trees and everything's moving. And it just looks so clean. I was just... dude, like Obsidian just definitely shines in this game, and I completely, even though it's a game in Game Pass, I am completely happy and justified in buying a game in Game Pass because this is a title that is well worth adding to your game library to always have around.
That's one thing Microsoft should do is make sure, like, mandatory, if the game's on both Xbox and PC Game Pass, make sure they somehow enable cross save.
Cross save would be a big thing. I really like because there's some stuff that I would like to see cross save. Like there's no cross saves in ESO. Pong Soul can actually attest to that. I found out that Pong Soul played ESO very heavily on the PlayStation, and
Awful.
And the only reason why he does not play now is because his entire account and everything's locked on a network he no longer wants to play on. And I'm just like, man, you would think a company like ZeniMax would totally jump at the idea of somebody wanting to spend money in their ecosystem, but they just want to switch networks.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a great point too. Definitely lots to bite into on that one. Shockley, buddy, hey, how's your Xbox situation looking right now?
Not good. I did somehow magically get it to do the factory reset, and I thought I was good, and now it's still turning off after like 2 seconds. So should have shipped it out last Monday, so it would have been at least a week closer to getting it back. So that sucks. But then I picked up the Pulse headset for the PlayStation, so I've been jumping back on the PS5, going through Spider-Man Remastered and some of those. So I'm like, well, I'm good. I have both consoles, so I'll just delve into PlayStation more this coming week. So, but other than that, but it's kind of sucks. I just got the Xbox headset and I was like, cool, I fixed it. And I get to, because on Windows, I can't figure out how to do, I don't think you can do the equalizer stuff like you can on the console. I've been dabbling with the Atmos on the PC, but
I would
not
say,
sure if that's the same.
I think it might be an app you're going to have to download from the Windows Store, because it's an app. Technically, the accessories app, like for the controllers and stuff, is something that's kind of like in the background. You never know it's there until you need it. And I think for PC, it's just something that you just have to download, because yeah,
I was trying to find that. I got Atmos app, so I have that, and I went into those settings, but I'm not seeing the equalizer thing that I see on the Xbox from people using it. But I mean, maybe you have to download a certain app. So
maybe. Admittedly, I have to play around with it a bit more, but still, I mean, it's a nice piece of kit, to say the least.
To everyone out there, this is the mic quality, so I'm actually using it and the mic. So I thought the mic was, from what the reviews, I thought the mic was kind of like lackluster. But if this sounds okay, then there you go.
Yeah, because that's something I was hearing. Admittedly, like I was telling you before the show shock, I hadn't really had a good chance to try out the mic portion of it just yet, but sound-wise it was good. But yeah, I was hearing all kinds of a few reviews anyways, talking about how the mic quality was a little subpar.
This is on my PC. I don't have that dongle. I did purchase it, so it's coming like Tuesday to where it actually makes the audio a little bit better quality on the PC, because it doesn't have the tech built in to most PCs like Xbox. The Series X does with the headset, because they kind of use their own proprietary audio frequency. So I bought that little it's like a $25 dongle, so you can use all your wireless controllers and headsets on that technology. So it's supposed to improve the audio versus just Bluetooth audio.
According to Sixslayer, there is a link to the Xbox accessories app, Shockley. So I don't... maybe follow up with him on that.
Cool, I'll
good
search
to know.
for it in the store.
Yeah. Well, no, that's cool. Again, I need to play around with it a little more. Hey guys, just a reminder before we get into all the topics, we had a fantastic show last Sunday with Xbox's David Preen. We talked about, again, the Xbox wireless headset and a few other Xbox-related things. So definitely give it a listen if you'd like to learn about the design process of the device and so much more. I mean, I'll admit, that was a really fun show. That was a really good show. Oh, hey, we got Dirt Griggity here with the $5 super chat. What's going on, guys? Shout out to the panel. I took a loan from the bank to pay the one-time $15 for the Dolby Atmos on my new headphones. Sup, Pong Soul. Oh, man. Have you guys seen...
Oh, my God. Did that
Dirt.
just make it into the freaking super chat? I was just looking at on Twitter. I was like, is there really somebody believing this? And now all of a sudden it's in the super chat.
Oh, that's great. Oh, no, there's been chatter, like... at least for the past day, maybe a little more, about people going on about how for the wireless headset you have to pay like $15 for the Dolby Atmos. It's like, yeah, Microsoft doesn't exactly have a choice about that. I mean, it's Dolby's baby, like it's
No, it's not. I bought technically a Platronics headset that I keep around for a backup pair just in case my battery dies on either one of my wireless ones. And I bought it specifically because it came with a Dolby Atmos card. I knew that Dolby Atmos cost money. That's why I'm
People are
just like,
I know. People are like, this is going to set a bad precedent. I'm like, you mean the precedent that was set 4 years ago when this app came out?
4 years
Right.
ago. I thought it's been like that since Dolby Atmos existed on the console. I thought to me, Atmos has been
I don't
there
know. It's
forever.
been at least 2017, at least the app, the $15 app on the Xbox One. I think that was.
Guys, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to use my Xbox rewards and just
Yeah.
like
Comes with 6 months apparently if you link up your headset.
And the thing is, and it's a lifetime thing for your account. It's not like it expires. I mean, it
crosses over generation too.
And
like
I
if
know
you had it years ago, you still got it.
Yeah. And like for people who are like, oh, $15 and you're crazy, like you can technically buy a lifetime subscription to a VPN for like $15 to $20 if you go to certain services. So I mean, like $15 for that is not extreme.
Right. Yeah.
Also, Sony doesn't even give you the option. They have no competition, whereas Microsoft, they have. People are saying they're going to wait features after 6 months. I'm like, no, you still have Windows Sonic. That's the free version. And you still have your choice of DTS or Dolby Atmos. You have no options on Sony. You just have their Tempest engine. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then I hear all this stuff about, Sony with their Tempest technology, and it's just like, guys, I don't want to hear about this. Why are we even talking about this? I mean, it just, it's so silly. I don't know anymore.
That's true, but those headsets of theirs, I have them, and they need bass. Like, I was playing Miles Morales, and I'm like, which has a lot of bass in the music selection, and it should not sound, like, soft. Like... For all the Tempest, like, oh, it's better than Atmos. I'm like, well, it's missing bass, so.
That's a shame. I was looking into getting those headphones, but...
I mean, that's something they can fix on the software side, I'm sure, so hopefully they do.
Yeah. It's just weird conversations happening. It's like, first it was about power, now it's about... then it was about games, and now it's about $10 one-time fees.
Well, actually, you know what? I hate to play devil's advocate. I know we got our subjects, but like if we look at Infist in the chat, he even thought that Dolby Atmos was a yearly subscription. So honestly, we all know that regretfully, Xbox's major fault is marketing, and definitely this is something that definitely they should nip it, because Microsoft lately is wanting to nip almost anything in the butt when it comes to something like that. And I mean, Microsoft could easily just come out and do a thing real quick just to explain to everybody that Dolby Atmos, like, this is a service, this is the way it works, and that when you pay the fee, it's a one-time lifetime subscription. This isn't something that you got to basically keep paying. Like, they've kind of like hornswoggled you into paying a subscription service on a headset.
Yeah, Centurion, they don't need to explain a dang thing, okay? Microsoft does not have to answer for this. Any kind of Dolby Atmos device that you're going to purchase, unless they're going to give you the actual service for free or include it in the device, you have to pay for it. Everybody knows that these days, and if they don't, they're not educating themselves, and it's not Microsoft's job to educate the consumer. It's not like you can't use the headset without it. I mean, the sound is, you can use the headphones. You just have an option of having Dolby Atmos. So I don't think Microsoft needs to do anything. This is a bunch of trolls who are either obviously willfully ignorant or obviously intellectually dishonest. Okay. And they're just doing this on purpose. It started as a joke, and then they all got carried away as per usual. And here we are now with people actually taking it seriously. And Microsoft does not have to respond to this one.
To explain the difference, it would be like trying to tell the difference with a pair of headphones, the difference between a 5.1 system and a 7.1 system. Correct. You would have to listen that carefully to know what you're listening for.
Right.
But definitely, if you really think about it, though, like, that's where it goes beyond a headset, because now if you take and you pay that $15, you can hook a sound bar through the optical output on some of these consoles and stuff. And now you have Dolby Atmos on a sound bar. If you actually set your Xbox up right for it to actually put all the audio through the optical output. So it actually goes way beyond just the headset if you hook certain equipment up to it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Notice how they don't bring up that neither Sony or Xbox, or Microsoft, I should say, paid for the license fee for Dolby Vision on their 4K Blu-ray players. So it's kind of the same thing, but
right. It's just all stupid. I mean, we've gotten to the point of lunacy at this juncture when these people have nothing left to complain about or to try to get a win online with. They've got to come at Dolby Atmos app. Are you serious right now? Enough's enough.
So we have a radio station out here that I love, and the guy came out a few months ago and said, "Can we just go back to the good old days where the village idiot was just disregarded and nobody paid attention to him instead of being given a platform for him to just spout his rhetoric on?"
Well, again, guys, it just both consoles have their pluses and minuses, or headphones, headsets, etc. But I mean, I don't know, these conversations I just find are kind of wacky. But you know what, fellas, we will move on and we will go straight into our first topic tonight. And you know, the time has finally come, fellas. Bethesda and all the other ZeniMax media studios are officially a part of Xbox Game Studios. Now, Xbox had a roundtable discussion welcoming them to the Xbox family, and head of Xbox Phil Spencer basically, he gave a straightforward answer where Bethesda games will be, stating that, and I quote, "If you're an Xbox customer, the thing I want you to know is that it's about delivering great exclusive games for you that ship on platforms where Game Pass exists, and that's our goal." Now, Pong Soul, I'll hit you up first on this one, buddy. I like to give our guests the first questions on this show. Do you think Phil's messaging was pretty clear with Bethesda and ZeniMax games where they'll be heading?
Oh yeah, this was definitely crystal clear. There was no question about where it was going. Is it just me, or does this feel like this happened like 3 months ago already? We've had so much news. This is crazy. But yeah, no, Phil came out and did exactly what he had to do. He actually said more than I originally thought he would. I was hoping for something like this, but I did not. I didn't want to set my expectations too high because Phil can be very careful when it comes to the PR speak and making sure that he's not backed into a corner. So I was delighted when he actually said what he said, because it left no room for any kind of discussion, even though people have tried to have discussions around a couple of the terms he used, like legacy. But if you understand what he's talking about, and again, if you're not willfully ignorant or intellectually dishonest, you know what he's talking about. He's talking about all of the games that are already on the other consoles, such as ESO, Elder Scrolls Online, Fallout 76, and also he's talking about supporting all of the other games that are already on those systems. So if there's some DLC to come out, let's say with Deathloop, they decide to do some DLC down the road. What he's talking about is Deathloop will be considered a legacy game because it will have been already on the PlayStation consoles, and they will go ahead and support that. They will produce the DLC as per the contract stated when they went to acquire Bethesda. So, and ZeniMax, I should say. So again, he laid it out crystal clear. He drew the line in the sand. He made it absolutely 100% about the Xbox ecosystem and about us as the consumers of the Xbox ecosystem, that this purchase was for us and for Xbox, and that they are going to deliver those exclusive games for us, because he understands and his team understands that that's important, because Game Pass is now the platform. And in order to have the Game Pass go where they want it to go, we're talking about 50 million, 100 million, 200 million subscribers at some point down 10, 15 years. What they need to do is supply content, and they got to feed this monster just like Netflix does. Again, it's the only comparison that works. It's going to be a little different than Netflix, but at the same time, it's the one that works because they're modeling themselves after that. So you got to look at that and say, okay, they need to continuously pump content into this. And that's what this acquisition is about. It's about obtaining more talent under one umbrella, underneath their first party, so that they can push out high quality games on a regular basis for all of us who are in the Game Pass ecosystem. And he made that clear through his statement, saying that these will be exclusive to any device that has Game Pass is, and so what he's leaving the door open that if Nintendo decides that they want to go ahead and allow Game Pass, or Sony, which is we don't think that's going to happen, but let's say one day they decide to put Game Pass on and allow it on there. He's saying that those games would be there then at that point. But for right now, he's talking about Xbox, the Series consoles, the older Xbox consoles, PC, mobile, and obviously tablets, whatever. That's what he's focused on. That's what his team is focused on, and that's what this acquisition was all about. And there is no more question about where they're going now, and that's beautiful. We win. The gamers win that are in the Xbox ecosystem. So I'm a happy camper, and I'm really happy that he came out with the statement that he did.
Mm-hmm. No, totally. And again, the key words here is that everything. My main takeaway would be everything else is related to Game Pass and Game Pass devices or devices that support them. So Xbox, PC, cloud gaming. Again, you have all those options there, but they're exclusive to... Again, I've been talking about this for months now. It's all about the ecosystem. Sure, they have those contractual obligations such as Deathloop, Ghostwire Tokyo, that Doom 3 VR game. Like, there's a few things in the works here. Plus, admittedly, we still don't 100% know about what the contract is with that Indiana Jones game. However, again, judging by... PlayStation not exactly acknowledging it when it got announced. I don't know. I'm kind of thinking...
That was telling.
Yeah, it's kind of very telling. But again, they haven't really stated that much.
Microsoft didn't own them yet. It was just like in between the acquisition. So it wasn't like they couldn't... It's not like Microsoft had dibs on like... And maybe they had... I don't know if they have a marketing, agreement. Or if like Microsoft had that going, but that could be why. Because I remember when Microsoft couldn't say anything about Destiny, except for like that cologne, I guess, or something. So
yes.
that could be something like that. But
yeah, no, totally. I mean, again, like I've been going back to the argument of like, why would you purchase again all those IP that are storied franchises? And like $7.5 billion, 7 to 8 studios, and you put these games on other platforms. Again, you have your contractual obligations, but in the end, it doesn't make sense because content. I've been hearing for a while that content is king, and when you're building the type of ecosystem that Microsoft is, that Xbox is, you don't make this kind of a purchase without putting those games directly, exclusively into your system. Granted, again, we don't know everything, but it's just from the wording that I'm seeing them use, and to me, it's pretty much a closed door on this. That they're
not going to allow all these Bethesda games to go to a platform where they can't entice you to sign up for Game Pass. They're just not going to do that. That defeats the entire purpose. It's like, hey. Yeah, you guys all like PlayStation, because they did so well. Cool, this gen, cool. Just keep playing the PlayStation and don't, subscribe to us because that's, because they tend to probably make more money that way. Just think about like how many few games people buy. So if they can get that steady stream, that's what they want. So, they got their bases covered. They don't need to make their money back in which they already did make the money back for this acquisition in like one of the last year's quarters. So that's kind of covered already. But they got PC, they got mobile, they got console, so they pretty much got all their bases covered. So they don't need to, cater to PlayStation, especially this right now, because a lot of these games are going to be next gen only, probably in these next coming years, like Elder Scrolls probably, and the bases aren't that big right now. It's not like I don't know if they're going to release on the PS4 or not PS4, but like a Xbox One, and by the time Elder Scrolls drops. So by that point, you're not catering to a 100 million PS4 base anyway.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the titles they got under their belt now. You got Doom, Wolfenstein, Elder Scrolls, Fallout, like the list goes on. Prey,
Dishonored.
Yeah, I mean they got all kinds.
Evil Within.
Well, even some of those, yes, of course, and even some of the classic franchises that I think that they'd be interested in bringing back, such as Quake. Like,
Yep. They got to go get Carmack. Carmack made that tweet when they first announced the acquisition that he would like to come back and work with some of his old, some of his old babies that he created. And obviously he had the issue with ZeniMax and the board more so than anything, but he has zero issue with Microsoft and Xbox. So they should reach out to Carmack and bring him back and have him redo Quake. It'd be fantastic.
Mm-hmm. And can you imagine adding in like Xbox exclusive characters to it too, and just like Master Chief. Actually, I would love to see like I don't know. I could see some silly stuff being added to that too.
We talked about with the EdTech, mixing some of that with the Gears franchise or Halo franchise, or just just the other studios in general.
Well, yeah, you mentioned that the roundtable. It had some very interesting discussions. Like again, just to piggyback off what you were saying, Shock. Phil was talking about having the idea of having like 343 and id, kind of sharing things back and forth, different ideas. Again, can you imagine using id on some of their properties too? Just sharing like that id technology, that engine, just sharing it around to some different studios. That's that's pretty awesome. That's a pretty impressive engine. I mean, Doom Eternal's bloody gorgeous.
And people think this is like I don't like saying it's bad, for the industry. I'm like, if anything, this is good because. If you just kept Microsoft going with their slow buying like smaller studios and building them up over time, like how, certain people want Microsoft to do, that's going to take a lot of time and they're never it's going to be a while before they really start, the balance of power starts at least shifting a little bit towards a little bit more balanced. Because you don't want Sony to just run away, so far like they did like the last gen. You want a little bit more pressure on them, which is only going to help PlayStation gamers. That's why it was fine when they bought Insomniac, because I'm like, look what we got. Maybe Spider-Man's gone from your favorite platform, but we never got a Spider-Man game like that top quality. So
right,
there were some benefits to it. And think about it, not all these studios were going to be around. Like you think our Arcane, like all of them were they're going to probably consolidate. Look at EA. Look how many studios they bought up, and look how many they have left. Do they even have more than a handful?
Mm-hmm.
Like they closed down even studios that made great games. Dead Space, what was that? Visceral?
Yeah,
closed them
Visceral.
down. Like who do they have left? Like except Respawn, basically, and like the Battlefield devs. I guess EA Dice, if that's still a thing.
Yeah, they've been like rebranded to like something within Dice too. Yeah. They were Danger Close. They were Danger Close, and then they got rebranded. That's right after at Medal of Honor. Forgot about that.
Well, and think about it. Look at the studios that had to take those 1-year deals to kind of like recoup some of the cost. Tango and Arcane.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably not great signs when you have to sign that over, and you're supposed to be a giant publisher.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That's signs of like, hey, last game didn't hit. Okay, this game. Well, we need an insurance policy on this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, admittedly, Arcane's games haven't exactly set the world on fire, but maybe the first Dishonored game did well, but a couple of them didn't exactly sell. I think
that did great because it was big install bases on both sides,
mm-hmm.
and there wasn't a lot coming out like late that gen, especially on the Xbox side.
Yeah.
So that's how I found that game. So.
Yeah, I remember being really excited. I liked it. I liked the style of it. I can't say I really enjoyed the stealth so much, but I mean, it had a lot of interesting aspects to it, don't get me wrong, and I know a lot of people enjoyed the game. I was just kind of 50-50 on it, but either way, I'm looking forward to what Arcane has in store. And really, guys, I mean, considering ZeniMax had put, all these studios on the block, it's better... you look at all the companies that could have acquired Bethesda and all the ZeniMax studios. I mean, Microsoft is one of the better ones. Well, or they turned into one of the better options anyways. I mean, I would hate to see them under Activision or EA, Tencent for crying out loud. So
Yeah, it's inevitable. It's the consolidation. People are like, you shouldn't applaud consolidation. Sure, but consolidation's going to happen. Run from it. Destiny still arrives the same, just the Thanos. So it's going to just keep consolidating.
well,
It's just going to happen
look at
over time. Like in the next 10, 20 years, probably Capcom and Square are going to be under, bigger companies.
look at Embracer Group, for example. Like, they were the ones with THQ and all of them. They what was it, a couple of months ago, they bought Gearbox. Microsoft was apparently talking to them. Actually, I'm kind of glad that Microsoft kind of dodged a bullet there with Randy Pitchford. But apparently they're pulling their money too. They want to, I don't know if it's in the billions, but it's close to that. They're still in the market, ready to spend. They've been buying studios like crazy too. Again, everybody's just trying to pick up talent right now. It's crazy. So I'm really glad. Again, I don't want monopolies in the industry, but at the same time, this was a very good
thing. This stops a monopoly. Like, if Xbox is gone, like, PlayStation almost has a monopoly on the console market. Like, outside of Nintendo, which just does their own thing. Anything as far as like the next gen console market, they basically have, that's all theirs. All to themselves. So if anything, this balances that power with all the studios Sony has. And like, say Microsoft just, I don't know how many, now at a certain point, if they, bought Square and like a Capcom and just went nuts, then yeah, you would have a point at, it getting to a little crazy. But I think at least this purchase, as we stop, like right now, I don't know if they're planning to make big acquisitions. They might just be looking at still smaller studios like they were doing. And this was just like their big splash. But right now, at least balances. Look over this next gen. This is probably going to be a pretty competitive gen over all three of the console makers. So
no, and I agree. It's looking pretty good. I mean, I think you'll see Nintendo, get a little more aggressive with their hardware, personally, but because they need to keep up. But obviously, they have no problem selling software by any means. Hey guys, did you see Todd Howard's comments? He made some interesting comments during the roundtable. Like when he was talking about when Fallout 76 released and they had countless issues. I mean, everybody remembers that. It's Fallout 76 is kind of like a giant meme, but they've sort of recovered. But apparently he called Phil for help, and he was directed to some people at Xbox, and they gave Bethesda some advice on how to move forward and stabilize the game. I mean, stuff like that, it really helps build a relationship, especially during, acquisition talks. That's pretty cool.
I think it was more than just like, how to fix the game. Microsoft or Phil Spencer had just, when the Fallout 76 debacle took place, Phil Spencer had pretty much grabbed the wheel of the Titanic known as Xbox and, righted that ship. And so Phil Spencer knew a thing or two about kind of bringing something back from the brink. And I'm pretty sure Todd Howard, you come off that high of, this is come on, it's a Bethesda title. There was a lot of hype around Fallout 76. And then that it goes from hype to kind of like what we saw with Cyberpunk, almost like damage control mode. And so I'm pretty sure it went way beyond just the technical ability to fix the game, but almost like the mental stuff that comes along with it. Because it's like, hey, we've all been here, you just got to kind of keep trucking along. This is what I did. This is what got me through, some pretty crazy times over at Xbox. I can only, we've all talked about if Phil Spencer ever wrote a book, it'd be a very interesting book. I've been sitting here listening to everybody chatting, kind of like forming my thoughts in my head because everybody's talking about the games and I don't know why, maybe just because I think differently. I look at, when I see Phil Spencer speak, I see everybody talking about, how the legacy title how can Bethesda make this exclusive? How is this possible? And the only thing is, I feel in some way that Microsoft, Phil Spencer, all the people involved are at this point where they're probably going to start just I don't want to say acting. They are just going to do what Nintendo does. And Nintendo knows that they have a great set of games that come out of their studios that bring a fan base that they are willing to cater to. And so it basically Microsoft is now feeling that almost Game Pass or the Microsoft ecosystem is bigger than PlayStation. There's no reason for them to compete. They don't need PlayStation. And that's going to be a hard pill for a lot of people to understand and swallow, because I understand competition is king. Competition is going to keep this whole thing going forward. But if you really kind of look at what they're talking about, their end goal, they've never really treated PlayStation like competition. They've never acknowledged PlayStation as a real source of competition. They've always looked forward at Google and the Amazons and the other companies that can definitely kind of go toe to toe with them when it comes to the size of the wallet. And I just really, a lot of people are going to have a hard time accepting the fact that there is going to be people in Xbox that really feel that they are bigger than PlayStation.
Mm-hmm. Well, keep in mind too, you know, I mean, obviously competition's a good thing, but, you know,
well, I'm just saying, like, competition's a good thing, but it's also, how do you keep something exclusive?
Well, no,
by thinking you're bigger than the other guy.
No, exactly. Just at the same time, though, I mean, you look at what some of Microsoft's, like, they for example, they had rated Google as one of their competitors, and look what happened as soon as, well, you know, as soon as word got out that Microsoft had bought Bethesda, for crying out loud, they kind of put the tail between their legs and then shut down their studios. So, you know, it's amazing when you see power moves like that and just how it ripples across the industry.
Now, this is where now, because Microsoft is going to see themselves, at least their ecosystem. I'm not saying Xbox. We're talking the full-blown Xbox ecosystem, PC, Xbox, any device that that Game Pass can be put onto. That can include in the future televisions, streaming sticks, and other devices. Because they have this idea or this concept that they want to follow, or the North Star, as David Preen likes to call it, that whole concept almost in a way is bigger than PlayStation, because PlayStation is only 100 million. PS4 is only 100 million strong. That means that is the size of that ecosystem. Microsoft is looking to expand that ecosystem as much as they possibly can, or at least their ecosystem. And I will definitely say the one thing that this competition is going to definitely bring is it's going to grow the PlayStation ecosystem. Like, this is the other side of that coin. Jim Ryan and them right now are probably like, oh my God, we have lost a lot of third-party developers that were creating our online or multiplayer style games. This was caused by the purchase of Bethesda, ZeniMax through Microsoft. Epic Games even bought the creator of what was it? Which one was it? Fall Guys?
Yeah, Epic Games bought, Tonic Media, but yes, the studio came Mediatonic. That's correct.
Yeah. So we have all these big players that are buying these studios, basically somewhat kind of systematically removing content from PlayStation because it's going to now go to multiplat, or it's not even going to show up on PlayStation at all. So now Jim Ryan's going to have to be like, we need to find developers within our own ecosystem that can start creating these style of games, so we don't pull a Microsoft and then we have a game like what was your favorite one, Invader? You have a t-shirt for it. It's the Dragon game, the game that never was.
Scalebound. See, this is if Jim Ryan and PlayStation don't get something going on within their internal studios right now when it comes to some of these games, especially when it comes to the multiplayer style games, they potentially are going to have a Scalebound situation pop up. Maybe. I mean, they do have some interesting third-party exclusives right now, but you know, we'll have to wait and see on that one. Like, again, PlayStation is still very popular. They have a huge install base.
They're very, very, very popular. Very popular. It's just I have always everybody that's always asked me, they're like, how could Microsoft possibly make these games not multi-plat? Why have there's all this money on PlayStation? And it's like, well, what if they feel they're above PlayStation? What if they feel like they don't need them? If they feel like they don't need PlayStation, there's a big flaw in your argument, because that means they don't care about the money over there.
Well, the thing is, they make more money locking people into their own ecosystem,
Well,
spending on their accessories, buying their games. So if they get the big casual market to like, I'm just gonna play exclusives, like the first party Sony exclusives on my PlayStation, and I'm just gonna spend all my other time throughout the year on my Xbox because there's so much stuff in Game Pass. So I might as well just play everything there, and then just once, twice a year, I'll jump over and play Last of Us or the new God of War. And that's it. If they can do that, like, that's going to be huge for them. So that's why they don't care about like, hey, I'm just going to get $60, or hey, somebody bought a game used, we didn't get any of your money on PlayStation. They're not going to do that unless Game Pass is there, which I don't even think they're going to do that, because at that they probably still want to have that console presence like Xbox. So I think they don't need to do it. So unless
I feel like really Phil Spencer was very concise in saying that whole Game Pass comment.
I think, well, it was done purposefully. Like, I mean, you could say he was a little bit vague, but I think he chose the wording of Game Pass very, very purposefully. So,
well, yeah, because it opens the world of like, well, he said that Game Pass has to be on these platforms, not maybe or a what if, has to be on these platforms, because the way Game Pass works is you can either play it on Game Pass or you can purchase the game from the Xbox store, blah, blah, blah. And that's where I really feel like he was very concise in saying on platforms where Game Pass exists. And we all know that you can put Game Pass in a streaming stick. We all know that you can put Game Pass in a chip in the back of a television. That's no big deal. The big what if is, can you put Game Pass on the PlayStation Network?
I did see a lot of people were like upset, like, why can't he just like Colin Moriarty, who I like, was like, why doesn't he just say it? Why didn't he just say that these are exclusive? Like, if it was Sony or Nintendo, they would just say it. And no, they probably wouldn't, because guess what? They haven't bought a giant big publisher. So it kind of makes those things hard. If you buy Insomniac, who is only making one game and one exclusive for you, it's kind of easy to say, yeah,
but that's where
exclusives. They never bought a publisher that had their hands in everywhere, already signing deals with Sony. Like, they've never bought a publisher. They're not probably going to anytime soon. So it's kind of easy to say that, because they wouldn't.
So I remember seeing all the articles pop up from people saying they were no longer going to trust Phil Spencer because the man that said that exclusives hurt the industry. And this is where
that's the funny thing.
You're right.
No one's read that article because people don't know how to read these days, or just lazy and don't just read the headline and that's it. But
that's where I had to say the only flaw with the idea of the exclusive is, in my opinion, in Phil Spencer's eyes, a Game Pass, PC, Xbox, the ecosystem that he has helped build he knows how many people are on that ecosystem. So he could fundamentally believe, he's like, I am technically bigger on PlayStation on numbers. I just don't report it because I don't like fueling that part of the console war. And that's where I just feel like that's where my whole concept of the whole idea that they don't care or they're not worried about it is just because they don't need to be over there to exist. They have done their own thing and they know that they're going in the right direction. Marching to your own drumbeat has worked for Nintendo. It's worked for PlayStation. Microsoft has found their direction. They have found the way to guide the consumer base that they are looking for. And, I really don't know what to say to PlayStation, but regretfully, they're going to have to kind of pivot and change, just like Microsoft had to pivot and change. And this is all a result of all the heckling, bullying, all the comments, the articles, all the side-handed comments that were thrown across Twitter. You can't go out to the playground every single day and pick on the same kid day after day until that kid goes to the gym and bulks up and becomes the Braun Strowman of WWE and is basically a freaking raging monster. And you have now created the new form of Xbox. And this is what people are now going to have to deal with.
I'm just picturing now Centurion. I don't know if you've seen those old South Park episodes, but like Cartman, he gets like the weight gain 4,000 bulking up, and then he's just like a huge fat ass.
Oh, God.
So time to get these guys some weight gain 4,000. But yeah, no, I mean, these are aggressive moves by Microsoft. And again, I'm really excited. Apparently, again, they have big plans for summer showcases, both Bethesda and Microsoft. So I'm very curious to see what they'll be showing off. Starfield, but there's a lot of stuff, guys, and there's even more stuff to dive in here. Like 20 Bethesda games have made their way to Game Pass. Again, the Dishonored games, a whole bunch of Dooms, The Evil Within.
Opened another studio.
Yeah. The what was it? ZeniMax opened a studio in Wisconsin, I believe. And there's I could be mistaken, but there was a job listings for about like a bare minimum 200 people around Bethesda and ZeniMax. So there's
that line came up a lot. I heard this past week. Sony creates, or what was it? Microsoft. I can't even say the line now. It's so stupid. Like Sony creates and basically like Microsoft buys everything. But see, Sony did that too. See, they bought those studios and then they did create stuff. So then that's when Sony creates stuff. So, but see, when the next like IP or the next games that get developed under Microsoft, they're not going to say Microsoft creators. They're just going to say, they just like took them. That's all. They didn't create them. Oh, the next IP that Bethesda makes, that wasn't them. That was Bethesda. I'm like, no, they're under Microsoft now. Just like when Insomniac, made Resistance under Sony after Sony took them. So that line it's all going around. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Microsoft takes, Sony creates. It has no. It's just a dumb thing to say. Well, since literally Sony bought almost all their studios, they didn't just create them out of nothing. Yeah. They went like, hey, we're gonna you guys have some pretty good talent. You guys made Crash, cool. We're gonna take you. We didn't build you organically. You did build them up over time after you bought them, but.
Yeah, and even also too, just to with even more Bethesda news, 5 Bethesda games got frames per second boosts over Xbox Series consoles. What was it? Dishonored, Skyrim, Fallout 4 and 76, Woo! And I believe Prey.
Fallout 4, man, I went and checked that game out. That looks like a whole new game.
Really, that much of a difference? I mean, I've been seeing people posting pics and clips and everything.
Well, definitely. When you go from 30 to 60 frames, it's definitely a big difference.
I think it's also more than the 30 to 60 frames, though, because you got to remember, we played this game when it first came out, technically on an Xbox One S at best. Because I think, because I don't know exactly when Fallout 4 came out, but I think the most hopped up console available at the time was an S.
Yeah, it was 2015 is when it dropped.
So so it might even been an Xbox One.
Still one.
So you got to remember, man, Bethesda games are known for being hella glitchy and hella buggy and just have all the the greatest things in the world happen in the world of Fallout and Skyrim. And because now we're playing these games on our Series S's and our Series X's, I mean, these games feel like almost new games just because of the stability in the game itself. And then the 60 frames a second is like the icing on the cake. I mean, like you get that fluid look. Everything looks clean. Like you're not seeing nothing crazy happen on screen. Sometimes Fallout games, there's just so much going on. They had just pop in. Like, I mean, dude, I've seen animals fall out of the sky in Fallout because the game loaded them like way up in the sky, and then all of a sudden the animal just falls out of the sky right in front of you. So I mean, you're not seeing stuff like that take place right now, at least in my experiences. So, I mean, it feels like almost like a whole new game just because of the stability alone.
Mm-hmm. Which reminds me, I really got to go back to the Fallout 4 DLC. I still gotta beat the Far Harbor one, the amusement park one. Yeah, I gotta go through them all. It's insane.
So Far Harbor was fun. Far Harbor was like on a little couple islands. Now the amusement park one, that one was massive. And the amusement park DLC gave you the ability to actually become a raider. And if you take over in a certain situation, you can almost take over the amusement park, and you actually can start launching raiding parties on settlements in the Fallout 4 game. I was it completely changed the game when you get the DLC for the amusement park.
All right. I'm definitely gonna have to dive into that again. That's a part of my my backlog, right? You know what?
Good luck on that backlog with that one game alone.
Yeah, I know. It's rough, pal. You know what? Since we've been talking so much about PlayStation the past couple of minutes, why don't we move on to some PlayStation news, guys? Because I feel like we do have to cover this. And not to be outdone, PlayStation had some announcements of their own. And, okay, here's one example. On a PlayStation blog, it was announced that industry veteran Jade Raymond has started a new independent studio named Haven Entertainment, and it's already working on an unannounced new IP for PlayStation. As well, Sony announced that they've acquired EVO, the Evolution Championship Series. It's known for its fighting game tournaments. Very popular. You see a lot of media out whenever it's on. Shockley, buddy, I'm curious about this one. What do you make of Sony's recent moves?
Yeah, I think that's pretty good for them. Well, actually, I hear the studio with Jade Raymond is not a first party studio, but it's just one that they're
but they're developing an exclusive IP though.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I don't know if this is probably just like well-timed news of like after the whole ZeniMax deal got announced as closure. But I mean, that's a great way, whether this is, one they're investing in, or you'll probably see more news like this in the future of them, either acquiring another studio or building a new studio, kind of like Microsoft did recently with the Initiative. I mean, that's what some of these deals are going to do. It's only going to breed some more of this competition, make Sony think like, okay, we're going to need more content because, yeah, maybe right now Xbox doesn't have a lot of games at the moment, but you can just see 5 years down the road, they're going to have a lot of content consistently, at AAA quality out of, a giant publisher like Bethesda, let alone their own, pre-existing first-party studios. The EVO news, though, I mean, that's cool for them, I guess. For investments, they want to, because I mean, I guess they can put their, systems at the forefront. I think I did see some articles say this is going to help them sell 200 or 300 million consoles. No, that's not going to happen. That's not. So I don't know where that like article just came out of nowhere with that. So like going around, but I did like that's cool with the VR. I did see that, which is great because as a VR owner or PSVR owner, I refused to buy the Move controllers. First off, you could like never find them, and if you did, they were like used and they looked gross because those like white balls on the top were always like they're yellow or just like dirty. It looked like no one took care of them from the previous gen. So these ones look like they're probably going to be hopefully on par with some of the Vive and some of the other premium headsets out there, hopefully. So I'm excited for that. So that should be cool. But yeah, I mean, good for them. We'll see what about their they did unveil that new Project Athia. I guess that's not their IP because that's a timed exclusive, so that looked good, but is now Forspoken. At first I was like, what's this Forspoken game there? It's because I thought Project Athia was like what they were just calling whatever the game was, but
Mm-hmm.
But I guess the Jade Raymond's good pickup. Apparently, she's had people were kind of pinpointing of like, hey, she's gone from studio to studio, and all the studios like projects have got shut or closed down or canceled. Kind of Harrison, like, hey, just I don't even think it's like a Phil Harrison thing. It's just like he was just at those companies at the wrong time, because it's not like he was like, I don't think super high up with Microsoft. He was, I think, maybe in charge of, I can't remember, maybe the Europe, division.
Yeah, he was, yeah.
Yes, for Microsoft. So I think that was just the wrong time. It's not like he was going to save or turn around PS3 when it first dropped. That was just that was, if they could have, that he just at the wrong times. I think same probably with Jade Raymond's past.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't want to say that Jade Raymond's been a bad omen for all these studios or IPs, but no, obviously she's a very talented lady, and obviously I wish her the best going forward with this IP. I'm really happy to see that she really instantly formed a new studio after leaving Stadia, so she got out of there and did something pretty quickly. Good on them. I'd be curious to, like, it's a new IP, so that's good. I mean, PlayStation's being aggressive in their own ways. Who knows what else they've got planned too? Because you got to imagine, right? Xbox has been hogging all the news the past month, so them making these announcements, it kind of gets them at the forefront a little bit too. But I mean, I don't see how you trump Bethesda in any way, right? So
I think that's what these were. Like, I think these were things they were probably going to talk about later as we got closer to like E3, to drop like little bits, because it's kind of weird to show off, hey, here's these controllers, which we're probably not going to talk about for the next few months. And I don't think they dropped too many details on them from what I saw going around. I haven't read any articles on them, but it felt like this was just like, hey, we haven't been talked about lately in a while. Let's just sprinkle some of these things so at least we're in the news a little,
Yeah, and well, Returnal, that game, I think it's coming out. Isn't it coming out at the end of this month, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, April,
so.
Right? Is it end of March or April? Yeah, one of the two. It's very soon.
Yeah, I mean, it's had some more gameplay shown, and I don't know, I find it pretty interesting myself. I think there's a lot of cool aspects to it, but I haven't been seeing it get the kind of spotlight that I think Sony would have liked to, so I think that's why they're also dropping these little tidbits as well.
Yeah, it's April 30th, by by April 30th.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, actually,
yeah. Like,
shouldn't they buy Housemarque?
Yeah,
they should.
Yeah, House and Blue Point probably. Those are the ones. Those are probably their next purchase. I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see, because they have a pretty good relationship with Blue Point after Demon Souls, and working on a bunch of the other. What else did they work on? I think they worked on the Uncharted collection, if I'm not mistaken, and some other stuff. But yeah, no, they've done some good stuff. Because you see these relationships forming in the industry, and it kind of makes sense, right? It's kind of like, I link it to Microsoft buying Playground Games. It's like, you're already making these exclusive titles. That's all you're doing. Why not? Just go for it. Just buy them as it is. Don't make the mistake of letting this developer go, much like what Microsoft did to BioWare, for example, right? So they had a chance, but oh. But yeah, I mean, just some interesting PlayStation news, guys. Evo's I don't know. I really don't know what to say. It's kind of random that they bought that championship, but
I see it as like Crunchyroll, just like that's just another one they're just putting in their, media acquisition. I don't see it's going to make any, I don't know, big swing of anything really in the gaming space, other than, they can highlight, hey, use our, controllers, or you'll see their branding like everywhere. Other than that.
Yeah, I mean, Microsoft bought Smash GG just a bit ago too. So I mean, they've both kind of made these kind of moves more for, I imagine, like you just said, Shockley, marketing down the road more than anything else.
Yeah. And gaming's getting really big, so especially like competitively, and I think I think it's a smart purchase for them. I don't think it's a bad purchase, but
No, just interesting, and it shows you where they're going. So.
my God, Evo, like, I mean, that's cool, I guess. It's not like a big news, but it'd be bigger news, if they bought they bought Blue Point finally. Cool, they secured them.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. I mean, hopefully they have some fighting games to show off in the next couple of years since they bought them, right? So, and I don't think the next Street Fighter is exclusive to them. So, I don't know. They're gonna have to.
It's in a much better state than they were when they signed that deal. So.
Yeah, that's right. Capcom are much more financially stable. Well,
I mean, if anyone was gonna try to buy them up, that would have been the time to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, either way, guys, it's interesting the moves that Sony are making, and it's good. It's healthy. The only thing is, I know a lot of people are saying in the chat about what was it recently? Sony had closed some of their Japanese offices, their gaming offices. So their presence in Japan is not as strong as what it used to be. So, or where their focus is.
Surprised that they don't. Do they have any other? Was that their only studio that they had in Japan?
Not 100% sure, I'll admit, but they were just.
I mean, I know they haven't done much in a while, from what I remember. I mean, I think the last big IP they did was Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah, they had become more of a support studio at this point. They had already kind of wound down and were helping out other teams.
Odd that if PlayStation doesn't, I don't know if, I was asking before, if that's the only Japanese studio they have at the moment, but it would be funny that Sony no longer has one. Microsoft has Tango now, so that would be interesting.
Well,
how that would swing would happen.
I did I read an article from a gentleman from the gentleman I think it was for Bloomberg. And the gentleman worked for the Wall Street Journal of the Japanese division in Japan, obviously. And they talked about how the marketing team in Japan pretty much sat on their hands during the launch of the PS5. It was all held by the entire thing was done by all the marketing teams here in North America. They made significant normally with the Japanese market or the Asian market. There was two versions of the console. There was their version of the console and the version everybody else got. Well, for the first time, I guess in a long time of tradition, PlayStation did not launch two versions of the console. They basically said you're getting the same version as everybody else. And it had to do with the controller design and where the X and the O button were. So yeah, PlayStation if you read the articles coming out of Japan, PlayStation has pulled a lot back in that part of the world. It goes more beyond developers. They're also talking marketing, developer support, all that stuff. And that this has a lot of developers almost looking at Microsoft because they got this amazing product called Game Pass where your game can learn to thrive in a whole new world, and people are taking notice of this. I really think that we're going to see Microsoft's presence in the Asian market explode this generation.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would keep an eye too on South Korea as well, because they've been making a lot of pushes there, especially with xCloud. But I'm very curious to see how the Japanese market reacts to a growing Xbox ecosystem. Again, they're not done, and I'll be curious to see what other studios or partnerships, third-party deals that they make as well, because I think there's going to be a renewed interest in Japan from them, but we'll see as time goes on, fellas. You know what, guys, I think we'll move on to some other things, but again, some big news from Sony as well this week. Again, good on them for being competitive and doing what they do. Recently, Xbox Game Pass, it was teasing a new addition to the service. And well, a few days ago, it was revealed that Outriders would be dropping into Game Pass day one, the same day as release on April 1st. And no, that's not a joke. And it's pretty cool considering it was one of the more notable AAA games releasing, well, in the next month or so anyways. Now, I'll put this open to whoever wants to take a crack at this first on the panel. Xbox is just killing it with Game Pass editions these days. Would you guys say that this is a significant move having Outriders day one in the service?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course it is. This was a next, I don't know if you want to call it domino, if you want to call it step or evolution towards what they envision Game Pass to be down the road, especially. And shout out to you, Invader, by the way, before I forget, brother. Awesome that you had some Lost Planet 2 gameplay thrown in there, man. That was pretty sweet. One of my old favorites, man. That was awesome to see. Yeah, I definitely think that this is another sign that developers are starting to seriously consider Game Pass as an addition for launching a game. And I think when you have a game like Outriders, arguably the biggest game to launch in 2021 yet, up to this point. It is a AAA game, but I think they looked at the demo downloads. I think they said it was right around 2 million and probably were a little disappointed. And then you've got, Square Enix being the publisher. They've come off the Avengers debacle. So they may have had a little, a little gun shy to them at this point, right? So they see the demo numbers, they're probably a little disappointing, and they're saying, okay, what can we do? Well, along comes Microsoft and says, hey, Game Pass is still open. Here's some money if you want to throw Outriders in here and have about, probably at this point, 20 million eyes on that game instantaneously. And you'll probably get a nice player base, at least out of the Xbox side. Now, it is, cross-platform play, not progression, but it is cross-platform play, but we're gonna provide you with an established customer base, and if you put it in here, chances are you're probably going to see a lot more activity. You're going to see a lot more engagement out of this game, and I think Square Enix probably looked at it and said, yeah, let's do that. Let's take a little bit money up front, which is going to cut some of the risk that they have involved with publishing the game, and let's get it out in front of more people, and I think this is something that you're going to see more frequently as we move forward. I think Sega coming out and talking about how successful Yakuza has been, moving over to Game Pass, and what a boon it has been for that series and for Sega, really opened some eyes. And obviously, people in the industry talk. So I think that the word is getting around about, obviously with EA jumping on board by putting EA Play in there. I think the word is getting around that Game Pass can be extremely beneficial. And I think down the road, I'm not saying that we're going to see like Call of Duty or, a Battlefield or something like that drop day and date in Game Pass. I don't think we're to that point yet. At some point, could we be? Maybe. But I think what you are going to start to see is because there's going to be so much content hitting because we have more developers, more publishers, more money, and more people involved in gaming than in the history of gaming. We're going to see so much coming out down the road. Let's say, at the end of this year, walking into 2022, 2023, you're talking about an avalanche of games on all platforms. There's going to be games that could possibly get lost in the shuffle. I think most people remember what happened to Titanfall 2, right? They chose a bad release point, and the game kind of got buried, and it didn't do well like they expected it to. And so what you're going to see is some of these publishers and developers looking at Game Pass and saying, okay, so we've got this great game, what we believe is a great game, but we don't want it to get lost if it's got a release window where there's two other giant AAAs coming out. We don't want it to get lost. Let's drop it in a Game Pass. Let's take Microsoft's upfront money, Xbox's upfront money, and let's get it in front of all these people on Game Pass. And that's going to that trend is going to start increasing as Microsoft's game, as Xbox gets Game Pass to grow. So let's say by the end of this year, they stay on pace and they hit 30 million. I think personally it could be 35 million if everything hits properly. But let's say it's 30, 35 million. Let's say by the end of next year, it's 50 million. At that point, you're not going to be able to ignore it if you're a developer or a publisher, because getting your game in front of that many people instantaneously, and they've already come out and started talking about the stats. Sarah Bond just came out about how much more, the percentages. I think it was 20% people that subscribe to Game Pass play 20% more overall games. They play 30. They something like 30% more different types of games, genres of games, or 40% more different genres of games, and they spend about 20% more than the average gamer does. So when you get that base of Game Pass to a point, and I don't know what that point's going to be. I think we're getting close, but I think between 30 and 50 million, there are going to be a lot of people that say, let's do it, let's get it in there, because we already know that that's going to give it a better chance of success than if we just try to do a regular release. And again, I'm not talking about all games. I'm not talking about we're just going to see everybody beating down Microsoft's door, Xbox's door to get it on Game Pass. But what I'm saying is you're going to start seeing more and more, those big AAA, maybe not the biggest names, but the big AAAs, maybe newer IPs that people are trying to get, that just came out, first-time IPs. You're going to start to see those wind up in Game Pass, and I think that's going to be a great thing. And I do see this as the start of that movement. I definitely think I like the direction we're going here.
Well, I see co-op heavy games, like games that people where, let's say you buy the game, but, somebody's friend might be like, well, I don't know. Like, I could see those doing extremely well, or more developers of those types of games being tempted to join in. Because, again, you look at Outriders, and I'll admit it wasn't exactly on my radar. I have been meaning to check out the demo, and I've heard like a few mixed things about it, but I mean overall I heard the gameplay was all right, and I'm all up for co-op experiences, just shooting the shit with friends online, obviously. So it might be something I might check out. There's more incentive for me to check it out now that it's in Game Pass.
Exactly, and we see second Extinction is coming, and obviously like Exo Mecha, and those types of games. To your point, Invader, definitely those multiplayer type co-op games would definitely benefit from a player base that instantaneously is there from Game Pass. Definitely a big deal.
Can I attest to that for a moment?
Yeah,
possibly.
I wish I was
preach.
Well, yeah, preach. Guys, we're going to get some paint drying on the wall here, because we're going to talk, like, technically there's a game in Game Pass that's been flying under the radar. I've been playing it for years. I've sunk a lot of money into it. So that's ESO. And I remember for a while there, ESO was becoming, the player base for it was pretty stagnant. I mean, you could walk through areas where, like, it'd be empty. And then I remember when it went into Game Pass and I chuckled. I was like, oh, wow, I already own that game, but that's funny. And I didn't really think about it at the time, but then all of a sudden I noticed in playing the game, I'm like, there's people all of a sudden. And there was more people, and then there was more people. And now when they have these expansions and all this, these other events, there's a lot of people all of a sudden. And it completely changed the game. I've seen what Game Pass can do for a player base. I don't care how much money someone's putting in their wallet at the end of the day, because obviously that's the one thing that's benefiting me is the game that I'm playing, and that I am seeing an increase in player base. And this is where I have high hopes that now Outlanders is going to be a much bigger game than it already was. I think I mentioned this to you last night, Pong, on the Shop podcast, that I not only is what's their name, Square Enix, a little gun shy, but I also feel like we have a lot of consumers right now a little wallet shy because of the Avengers debacle in general. It's really nice to see that they did release a demo to kind of gauge where they were at, and now obviously Square Enix is pivoting, and I really feel that you can have a company that kicks ass constantly. You could be a person who kicks ass constantly. It's always great when you have your ducks in a row and you're like a locomotive and the train that can't be stopped. But it's that moment you have to pivot is what really counts, because sometimes it's what makes or breaks you. And that's where I'm watching Square Enix pivot, and I really feel this is going to be a successful pivot for them. And I really hope that Outlanders is going to have a strong player base as a result. You mentioned Second Extinction. I'm hyped for this game. I'm ready to play this game. I can't believe that this game has been flying under my radar. And I almost thought about buying it on PC just to play it early. So definitely the future is grand when it comes to Game Pass for anybody involved, player, developer, publisher. Sky's the limit, at least right now, with the situation that Microsoft has created with it.
And how long before we see Avengers? It won't take long.
Oh yeah, exactly. And that's where, and then I think that's going to be one of those pivotal, another domino is when we watch a game where it's literally tumbleweeds and echoes. Because I see articles right now of people saying that, like, once you play the main game of Avengers, there's really not much there because the player base isn't there. And I feel by putting a game like that in Game Pass, you would all of a sudden have a player base.
Well, yeah, that was their own fault, though, not having the content there at launch.
Well, that's where I kind of joke, man. Games as a service or game, like, look at, like, the reason why I brought ESO up in the first place is they are technically the most played MMO on console right now. Putting the game in Game Pass totally changed that world for them. And I kind of was going at the idea of games as a service is kind of like a scratcher ticket for developers. You can either hit a jackpot and get a really good game as a service, like Fortnite, Destiny, but no matter what, it's always a roller coaster. 1 minute it's up, 1 minute it's down. But that's where you definitely need to be ready for games as a service. You can't just give people a short little campaign and then not really give them anything past that. And that's where I hope Square Enix has learned their lesson with that, with Avengers, and obviously you see them putting a lot of effort into fixing Avengers. So I really do see that at this point they've put a lot of effort into wanting to make sure that Outlanders is also successful.
It is interesting that they also got like a big publisher like Square to drop it in there day one. But I think that's a safe bet for them because it's really only on Xbox and cloud, not PC and PlayStation that they're doing this. So they're still kind of like, having their safe bets over there. And this is just going to help kind of get word of mouth out, which might help boost sales on those other platforms. So pretty much a win-win.
Mm-hmm. Well, they probably saw their pre-order numbers too, and were kind of hesitant too. So, I mean, I'd be curious to see how the conversations went getting it into Game Pass. Actually, I'd love to have somebody from the Game Pass team from Microsoft on at some point. It'd be I'd love to pick their
Jim Ryan with that crazy hair of his, probably on the phone was like, "What to what?" When he found out they're putting it in Game.
Well, it's kind of quiet right now. I mean, okay, there are a few select games, but I mean, heading into April, where is it? There is MLB The Show. There's a couple of other titles, Returnals at the end of April, and yeah, just a select few. So, I mean, Outriders, as far as I know, is like one of the big AAA games coming out, like as of right now. So, if they're nervous and want to go into Game Pass, that's, I don't know, it's just interesting. The mindset. So, good on them. I'll be curious to see how this all works out. Yeah, guys. You know what? We will move into our last topic of the evening. And, you know, a few weeks ago, we were hearing rumors, some murmurs, if you will, of Xbox having some kind of event for late March. Well, it's been announced that ID at Xbox, there will be a showcase with over 100 games to be shown off, with 25 to debut trailers and gameplay for Xbox exclusives such as Stalker 2, Second Extinction, and The Ascent, just to name a few off. Now, Centurion, buddy, I'll go to you on this last topic to start off. From the sounds of things, we're going to be seeing a lot of games here. Are there any games previously announced that you'd like to see be showing off here?
Man, at this game, I couldn't really think, dude, there is so many games anymore. I am just excited for whatever they're going to whatever they're going to give us. I mean, dude, I feel that the golden age or another golden age of gaming is upon us. I'm not trying to sound cheesy, but I mean, one thing to be taken, I guess, looking at the glass half full, with the whole situation of the pandemic, is the situation of the pandemic made a lot of us have to stay home. There was a large, massive investment in gaming, which got a lot of eyes turned on to gaming. We're now seeing big studio purchases. We're seeing games like the ones Invader mentioned, and I'm just excited for whatever's coming out because my backlog is already a mile long. It just became 3 miles long because Bethesda games are now in Game Pass, and there's a lot of Bethesda games that require multiple days of your life to truly experience them properly. I can't begin to think of one game off the top of my head right now that I could really talk about because there's just so many of them. Man, I see it like Stalker 2, like you already mentioned, so I don't want to keep mentioning the same games.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, even in the chat's lit right now. Even games that we haven't seen for really a year or two since they've been announced, such as Tunic. Phantom Kraken also brings up The Last Night as well. Yeah, The Last Night. Oh man, it's been years. I would love to see that title. What was it? 12 Minutes, The Gunk. I mean, we've only seen really one trailer when they first announced these back in July, or either May or July, and we haven't seen much of them. So, I mean, strategically, I think it would be interesting and a good idea to see them finally show them off now at this separate indie event. Again, there's going to be over 100 games here with so many more to just debut. So I'm really excited to see this. I know the indie gamers going to be chomping at the bits to see this one. Yeah, I would say Stalker 2 I'm really curious about. 12 Minutes. I mean, it has a really interesting script and voice cast from the sounds of things. You know what, Centurions? There's one game here I'd be curious to see there. You made a video about this title way back when. I think it was in May. Scorn. That's another indie title.
That would be, I could probably see that one being there. We're seeing, dude, that would be awesome to see there, especially with everybody talking about the Medium, another game that was pretty much built for the Series X, and I think that's another game we're going to see with Scorn, and it's definitely going to be a different take on a game altogether. I don't know if anybody's ever seen footage of this game. I mean, oh my gosh, it's like Dead Space met something out of the best way to describe it is they got a lot of inspiration from the gentleman that helped create the art direction for the very first Alien movie. Like those that crazy horseshoe style spaceship, or the long giant aliens that were up on the walls. Just the creepy, eerie stuff from the very, very first original Alien movie. And they used, I forget the artist's name. Invader, I think I've heard you say his name before.
I believe H.R. Krieger.
Geiger.
That's H.R. Geiger.
Yeah. And I mean, man, some of the creature design, the concept of the game in itself, man, I'm kind of glad you kind of reminded me, because even just reading all the articles, I actually haven't seen any mention of Scorn. And there's a lot of people that want to talk about that game. There's a lot of interest in it, and I know originally it was supposed to be 2 games just because they didn't have the money to make it a one solid game. And then lo and behold, they get some major cash infusion out of nowhere from an anonymous investor, air quotation marks. And yeah, all of a sudden it becomes like, well, we're actually going to now make both games and put them in one complete package, and it's going to show up on PC and the Series X, or well, the Series X, Series S. And so, yeah, I'm actually kind of glad you brought that up because I haven't really seen that game mentioned really in a while.
Yeah, I've always found it, since they announced it, a very interesting title. Obviously, it was available on PC like a year or two beforehand, but still, it just catches my eye.
Another one that comes to my mind though, Invader, is one that you turned me on to, Atomic Hearts.
Oh, yes. Well, Atomic Heart's a special case altogether. It's had an interesting development process. But it looks like it's coming together pretty well. They've had a cash influx as well. I think it's supposed to come out later this year, if I'm not mistaken. But visually, it looks very unique. I know they have Mick Gordon doing the soundtrack. And theme-wise, I'm very excited to see more of that title because it kind of like Scorn. I was gonna say it intrigues me, but it also repulses me in some ways too because of the organic nature of what's going on. So
yeah, if you haven't seen Atomic Hearts or never heard of it, go watch a trailer for this game, and you'll be kind of like, how have I not heard about this? Because I mean, it's just so interesting that you just want to know more about it, but that you can't know too much about it. Like the game is in development, and like you said, it's been a little bit of a roller coaster ride.
Yeah, I might do a video about that game, a bit of a preview too, because I'm not seeing a lot of talk about it. And I would like to get more, just more talk on more. More eyes on that game because to me it's appealing anyways. It reminds me, it gives me BioShock vibes.
Now here's the thing, this is another reason why we could preach this golden age thing, is these new game consoles, PlayStation 5, the Series S, Series X, all of them, the new technology we're getting in consoles. We're seeing consoles now almost revel PC gaming in some way. This has opened the doors for a lot of titles that were being held back because of technology. Good case in point, Cyberpunk 2077. If that game was exclusive to this generation that we're in now with PS5 and Series S and Series X, we wouldn't have seen as many problems with that game as it's had because the game just was meant for this kind of a structure. And I still see that there's a lot of games out there that have been flying under the radar that these developers, I don't want to say were too ambitious. They were just way too ahead of the technology that was available to them. In a way, Microsoft and PlayStation held us back with the first designs of the PS4 and the Xbox One because they didn't just go all for it like they did this generation where they wanted to build these beautiful machines. They kind of lost direction at the beginning of last gen, and I feel that that kind of helped hinder a few games, and now we're going to start seeing some of these games pop back up because technology has now got to the point for some of these games to actually exist on the level that developers want them to, because they weren't willing to compromise on how they wanted the game to look and function because of something as silly as a hard drive.
Right. No, well said. Now, guys, that's not the only event that got announced recently. We also got official word that there will be an Age of Empires fan preview to be held April 10th, with reveals for Age of Empires 4 and content for Age of Empires Definitive Editions 2 and 3. Do you guys think that we'll get a release date for Age of Empires 4 at this?
Yeah. For at least for the PC, we will. I don't know if we'll have a console release date yet, but I think definitely for PC, I think this is kind of their big reveal as far as, putting it out there exactly when this is going to come out. I think this is definitely a big PC release. I mean, that's a huge fan base they've got for Age of Empires. So I think this falls in line with their plans for it, and we will get that release date. I'm hoping for the console version, but I just don't think we're going to see it quite yet.
Yeah, I'm with you there, Pong. Age of Empires, I'm a huge RTS fan myself.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Of course, I mean, nothing's gonna compare to, I mean, playing on a PC at the moment, just because of all the control that you have. Saying that, though, I mean, with mouse and keyboard support for these consoles, I mean, that would be the next step, though, is to, again, have a port of some sort, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we saw, we saw success with the Halo Wars franchise. It can be done. I certainly, I'm not a PC guy at all. I'm a straight console guy. But I definitely would like, Microsoft to push that keyboard and mouse more. And I think they could, grow a fan base of us that love RTSs like yourself and me. And I think they could grow that fan base if they pushed it a little bit more. And then once they establish that it could be successful, then you could start talking about bringing games like Total War over to console. It's just getting to that point where it's more acceptable to go out, get a keyboard and mouse, and knowing that these games are going to be there on the console for you to play. And as Centurion was just saying, that now that the consoles are becoming more and more PC-like, I think it would be a natural thing for them to start looking at bringing more RTSs to console and allowing, or at least advertising, the support for keyboard and mouse, and saying, hey, we know you guys are out there, you guys like RTSs, we want to bring them to the consoles, but we got to have your support. But here's a list of some great keyboards and mice that are work well with the series consoles. If you want to move in and you want to try out these RTS games, please, go out and get this and support us so we can do this. Because I know a lot of devs obviously don't like trying to adapt the controls to a actual physical controller, because as we all know, it's very complicated. I think they did, Creative Assembly did a fantastic job with Halo Wars 2, but it is a lot of work. But I'd love to see it happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would be very curious to see. I wonder if they would take the approach of how Asobo is doing with Flight Simulator, release the game on PC first, and then a year later maybe release it on do a console thing. But again, that's just me speculating. I would say, though, I mean, Other Zinc says, yeah, Halo Wars 1 and 2 were amazing. I agree, man. Halo Wars is very underrated, very underappreciated, too. And I hope that we get a Halo Wars 3 sometime in the near future.
We were just playing it last night.
No way.
Fired it back up. Me and Fun Speculation, Mav and Psychonauts and 3-Bit. We fired up the Halo Wars 2. It was awesome, man.
Nice.
Yeah, it can be tricky, like RTSs. Diablo, it's fine, but I remember playing StarCraft on the N64. That was a experience.
That was a joke.
Yeah. Well, you couldn't really play like multiplayer because then it kind of defeated the purpose to see each other's bases.
But the controls were not good on that at all.
Oh, yeah, no.
Hey, now, don't be dissing my Star Fox. I love it.
Oh, no Star Fox diss.
I kid.
StarCraft.
StarCraft.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Isaiah in the chat, is Crossfire X considered an indie game? I don't think so, because Remedy's involved, right?
That was the best looking game they had last summer, to me, in my opinion, when they showed that off.
Mm-hmm. No, actually,
indie or not, what has happened to that game?
Well, it got delayed. It was supposed to come out, I think, in December, but it got delayed because of COVID. But
we'll probably see it this summer.
I mean, that's all Remedy's doing right now, so I mean, I'm sure we'll see it soon. Yeah, that's a great exclusive because Microsoft's publishing that, and I don't think that's going anywhere else since they're the only publisher.
Right. Yeah. I mean, people forget how many hands.
That might be a big game.
It could be.
Yeah, they are making the Alan Wake DLC eventually, sometime. But other than that,
Yeah, no, that's true.
They might that might be what they're gonna announce like this year. They might have a fire year. Halo, that game, possibly Starfield, probably one of these indie games, a couple of them coming out. So
Yeah, I mean, okay, if you consider, because that was delayed, right? Crossfire X, wasn't that supposed to originally come out near
it was supposed
launch?
to come out last year. Yeah, December.
Yeah. So if things align the way I'm thinking, yeah, I mean, it should come out this year, I would think. So
That could be a good spring game hitting Game Pass day one. Actually, no, that game is not going to Game Pass.
well, keep in mind
No.
too, guys, we just got a release date for MechWarrior 5
Which is weird.
Mercenaries.
Yep,
Yeah.
my birthday. Can't wait. Back
Nice.
to mech time.
Hey, I love my mech games, and
Oh.
MechWarrior is a great universe. And
Yes.
again, it's kind of tricky with the ownership rights to that game, like that series, with like Mech Assault and MechWarrior and everything, because it's like Microsoft does own some rights to it, but they also don't at the same time. It's kind of weird how it works, but I know, yeah, it's coming to Xbox exclusively on the console, but I don't know if it's hitting Game Pass or not. So
I don't think it is.
yeah,
I
so
don't think it is.
which is kind of weird, but I have to look more into that. Hopefully, they have some kind of an announcement for that. But it's getting the like the newer DLC with it too, and I'm excited to get into that too. I want to see how the controls are too, right? So
Yeah. Exactly.
we're going from
It's gonna be
PC
amazing though.
PC to console. But yeah, no, I'm really excited for that one. You know what, guys? I think on that note, we're gonna start to wind down things and just go to the outros now. But panel members, really, really fun show tonight. I really enjoyed all the banter, lots of fun. And of course, to all you guys in the chat, all you guys and gals, thank you for joining us tonight. It's always appreciated. I enjoy scrolling through all the commentary as you guys are chatting away. We got Hellboy joining us. Hey, buddy. Six Slayer, you've stayed with us. Jesse Darby, Isaiah, Psychonauts, Other Zinc, Froggy T, Hassan, Mike, Kurt, Phantom Kraken, thank you for coming out to the show. Infinite, Other Zinc, and so many others. Thank you guys for chilling with us. ATL, and many, many more. If you guys haven't already done so, then share this episode out. Drop it a like, and if you haven't already done, subscribe for further TXR content. But yeah, guys, again, really fun show talking about Bethesda officially becoming an Xbox studio, a part of Xbox Game Studios, Outriders going to Game Pass day one, and the ID at Xbox March event. With all that said, let's get to these outros, starting with our guest tonight, Pong Soul Buddy. It was a great experience having you on with us tonight. I know it was very, very last minute, but we appreciate you coming on. Where can all of our listeners find you and follow you at?
Absolutely appreciate the invite so much, Invader. I've been listening to TXR for a long time, so finally get on here was a fantastic experience, and I really do appreciate it. I never take these things for granted, so thank you again. Thank you, Centurion and Shockley, for making it easy to come in here. Obviously, that's always the best part of these experiences. So, chat, you guys have been amazing. Thank you all for coming out. I'll give you this little tidbit, too. We were just talking about that showcase. Would not be shocked to see the Ascent drop that same day. They announced that it's in Game Pass because the Ascent is supposed to come to Game Pass, and their social media has been extremely active, and that was supposed to come out last year as well. That would be a big hit for that show if they drop the Ascent during the show and say, hey, available Game Pass now. You can find me everywhere, Pong Soul, Xbox, Twitter, and then you can find me Friday nights on Xbox Ultimate with Fun Speculation, Mav, aka Fun Speculation, his wife Caitlin, 3-bit, Psychonauts 8, and we've got hope that the return of Assassin Lupa as well. She is kind of back, and she is doing better, so we're hoping to get her back on the show, hopefully maybe even next week. And that's Friday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Saturday nights, you can find me on the Shop Podcast with PTK, Blam, my brother Centurion, Fuzzy Belvedere, and Stagorilla. And we are now on at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with the time change. And then you can, yeah, that was it. That was fun.
There's a huge debate about
yeah,
that.
and then also just joined Boom's show on Tuesdays for the what was the Xbox one-on-one with him and Zemi Games. It's no longer one-on-one, I guess. So we don't know what we're going to call it. But I'm joining him on Tuesdays and Zemi. And that starts at 12 p.m. Eastern. And then everybody keep your eyes peeled. Tuesday, there should be an announcement. I've got something in the works as a surprise, and we should be announcing it Tuesday. But thank you all again. Appreciate you all. And have a great rest of your Sunday night and good week.
Holy shit, Pong, you got more on the go than a jackrabbit in heat.
Yeah, 2021's become
I told
pretty
you that
crazy.
dude's everywhere.
Damn, buddy. No, that's good for you. Definitely check out Pong Soul here. Becoming quite the popular member in the Xbox gaming community. Again, thanks for coming on, buddy. Moving on down the list here to the TXR crew. Shockley, buddy. Hey, you had some really awesome commentary tonight. Where can everybody follow you?
Yeah, as always, you can find me at Shock Nero on Twitter, Easy Shock on Xbox Live, and thanks for stopping by. Thanks for Pong for stopping by, especially since a little short-handed. Hopefully Tim gets better. Fast recovery from that COVID. So, but yeah, thanks for stopping by. Awesome show.
Yeah. That's the thing. Yeah, Tim couldn't make it. He's under the weather now because he has the beer bug, the Modelo virus, if you will. And yeah, just wish him well, guys. He should be back soon. You know, I know he wants to get in on the all the Xbox news, so he'll be back soon. Don't you worry. And finally, Centurion Pal. Again, always a good show. Where can everybody follow you?
Well, thank you, gentlemen. It's been an awesome show. Thank you to the always amazing Mr. Pong Soul for being here at a moment's notice. Always an amazing dude to sit down, chat games with, play games with. Really awesome guy. Just like you, Invader and Shockley. For me, for those interested in finding me, you can find me right here every Sunday night on the TXR Podcast. You can also find me with Pong Soul right next to Mr. PTK Blam, Fuzzy, and Stagorilla over there on the Shop Podcast. You can also locate me at Centurion1307 on Twitter, Xbox Live, and right here on YouTube.
All right, good shit, Centurion. And finally, I'm Invader, and you guys can find my content over on YouTube at Invader Gaming. I'm also on a large number of different media sites. I upload to Minds, for example, BitChute, and many others. Same name, Invader Gaming. All right, guys, I can't say this enough. Really fun show tonight, and we at TXR cannot wait to see you all here next Sunday night. I can already see that's going to be a good show. Cheers, folks. Have a good one.